Greetings and salutations, all. I.S. Anderson here once again, and I'm going to be doing a review on the entirety of Season 5 of Game of Thrones. And I'm going to be examining the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Okay, now first off, I'd like to just say, let's be honest, this season really didn't get good until episode 8. I hate to say that. I mean, there were a few scattered good points in the first 7 episodes here and there, but mostly it didn't really get good until the 8th episode. Now, by far, I think the best storyline in the entire season was Daenerys, and yeah, I know it's me. Of course, who else is he gonna say but Daenerys? But really, I do think that she had the strongest storyline and the most happened in her storyline. It was definitely the most interesting. And not just because she had dragons, although, the dragons are a big part of it. So Dany finds out that ruling is not easy, and for the most part, it's not very much fun. And she learns that in a hard way really quick. And it's not just a matter of, gotta chain up the dragons to keep people safe and keep them safe. It's that, now she's got this little problem called the Sons of the Harpy that she's got to deal with, which is basically the criminal element and the element that's trying to take their city back from her. Now, of course, everybody assumes is that the Sons of the Harpy are just the nobles of the city because they lost the most when Daenerys took over. But towards the end there, we get to thinking, well, maybe it's not exactly the nobles. I tend to think that it's a combination of the nobles and the ordinary folk of Meereen, because a lot of them are pissed off at Dany for chopping that one guy's head off. I don't remember his name. But the guy who killed the Sons of the Harpy, who was supposed to be on trial. And I also think, a lot of people from Karth and Astapor are coming and also want to try to dethrone her there and try and, kill her while she's confined to her own city, because they know they can't beat her in an open battlefield, or, because she's got the Unsullied and she's got, in that show, the Second Sons, and, they were also afraid of her dragons, which they probably shouldn't be at this point, but still, they're there. And so, tragically, Ser Barristan dies. Poor Ser Barristan, and I hear a lot of the people, complain about how the Unsullied basically got their asses handed to them all season, and they got their asses handed to them by a bunch of untrained people with knives and all that stuff. And I understand their point. One thing that you got to keep in mind, though, the Unsullied. Now, this pretty much only applies to that first battle where Ser Barristan got lost. In that battle, the Unsullied, they got tricked and they got lured into a very confined space. And if you look at the Unsullied, they fight with shields and spears for the most point. And that's not the type of weapons you want to use in, confined spaces. Plus, the Unsullied, they were designed to basically fight Dothraki. I mean, Dothraki, they're the most feared army in all of Essos. And I think Unsullied were pretty much designed strictly to defend against them. So then when we go up against somebody that doesn't fight like the Dothraki at all, they're going to be at a slight disadvantage. I mean, the Unsullied, they operate a lot like a Roman phalanx. I mean, they march, they make a lot of noise, and they can hold their shields up and put their spears on it. And, when horses come straight at that, they're not going to have a good day. And also, Dothraki would use a lot of archers against Unsullied, and then the Unsullied just, did the old, let's put our shields together and hide out here for a minute. So, but, but when they meet the Sons of the Harpy, they get, like I said, they get, dragged into a corner and they fight in close quarters, and spears and shields aren't very good in that situation. Now, as far as why did they get beaten so easily in the arena, I mean, they kind of held their own, but yeah, for the most part, they did get beat. I mean, again, designed to fight Dothraki, designed to and trained to face down a rushing horde, not, stealthy, sneak up behind you and stab you in the throat kind of people. So, okay, but that's all I'm going to say on why the Unsullied look so weak in this season. Now, I've heard a lot of people criticize Daenerys in this season, saying that, she acted kind of like her father. She was going crazy and, feeding people to their dragons. But, see, in my mind, I think she practiced a lot of restraint. I mean, a bunch of guys in masks just pop out of nowhere and start killing civilians and start killing your soldiers, and then kill Barristan Selmy, who is probably the closest thing Daenerys has had to a father, at least on the show. I mean, yeah, and she just feeds one noble to a dragon because of it. I think, I mean, I know I would have been a little bit more, oh, you're going to do that? Okay, it's time to start killing some people. And, I would have been a lot harsher than that, and I certainly wouldn't have married a noble just to bring back the games. But she's trying to keep the peace, and, it's, of course, her efforts are not working, and eventually she's going to say, you know what, this isn't working. Let's take a little bit more of a firm hand approach. And she finally meets Tyrion. Tyrion and Daenerys in the same scene together. Yay! Okay, finally. Yes. I know. Something that the book readers haven't got to see yet. But we got to see it in the show now, and it's pretty cool. And I think Tyrion is going to do very well for Daenerys. And I guess a lot of Season 6 is going to be how does he handle, taking care of Meereen in Daenerys' absence. I mean, Barristan Selmy is kind of doing that in the books, but it'll be a lot more interesting to see how Tyrion handles it because, I mean, like Dario said, he has a lot of experience governing a city, and of course, he isn't going to be the figurehead. Grey Worm, he's going to be he's going to be the one that everybody thinks is in charge, but it's actually going to be Tyrion, and Varys is going to help him out with his network of spies, so that should be pretty interesting. It's going to be like Varys and Tyrion. I mean, they get real control of the city without having to worry about a king, and, well, they're going to be worrying about Daenerys. They're going to want her to come back, but it's going to be interesting next season to see how Tyrion handles this situation. So they gave Jorah grayscale. Wow, interesting. I mean, I kind of knew that was going to happen to somebody because I knew grayscale was going to come into play because they were hinting to it. I mean, they did this whole thing on Shireen. She explained her grayscale, and then, grayscale was explained again in previously on and all that stuff. So, grayscale was going to come into play sooner or later. But the thing is, you got to wonder, what kind of an impact is this going to have on the series as a whole? Because, I mean, in the books, they have the pale mare, which is a disease that goes around and ends up killing a lot of people. But does that mean that grayscale is going to take over? Is grayscale going to start spreading around? Is Jorah going to be responsible for it? I don't know. Time will tell. But, I mean, Jorah got grayscale for a reason. It's not just because, well, John Connington did it in the books. No. I mean, he got it for a reason, and they're going to do something with it. So that'll be interesting. But really, my most favorite part of the whole Daenerys storyline has got to be the interaction between Daenerys and Drogon. Because it's just, all throughout this, you could just see that Drogon, he just wanted attention from Daenerys. I mean, he just wanted some, motherly love from him and all that stuff. Even though he was flying around on his own, even though that he was out there somewhere, I mean, he just wanted some affection from Daenerys, and I don't think she was really giving it to him. Let me show you what I mean.
Hey, Mommy, how you doing?
Oh, Drogon.
Hey, Mommy, touch my nose.
What?
Touch my nose.
Well, I don't know.
Come on, Mommy, just touch my nose.
Well, you might bite me.
I won't bite you, just touch my nose.
Well, your nose looks kind of rough.
It's not rough, just touch my nose.
I don't think so.
Touch my nose!
No.
Fine.
See, he just wanted a little attention from her. That's all he wanted. Just, see, controlling dragons isn't hard. You just gotta give him a little attention, just touch his nose. But anyway, they go throughout the season, and then Drogon finally comes back. Yes, he has his triumphant return, just when all seems lost, when the Sons of the Harpy are surrounding Daenerys and Tyrion and Missandei and Dario and Jorah. They've got them all surrounded in the arena. Who should finally show up?
I save you, Mommy.
Oh, Drogon.
Skyrim, bitch.
Drogon, you saved me.
Hey, Mommy, touch my nose.
What?
Just touch my nose.
Well, not this again.
Come on, Mommy, just touch my nose.
Drogon, I really do think...
Bitch, I just saved you from a bunch of people who you should have killed a long time ago. Now touch my damn nose.
Oh, all right.
Finally. Ow!
So then she pulls the spear out of him, and then she rides off of him into the sunset. I mean, she actually flies off into the sunset with him. I mean, that is just. I mean, I don't think anybody's actually done that before. I mean, you always hear that cliche of, the cowboy riding off into the sunset, but I don't think you've actually seen that until now. I mean, so Daenerys, she's got her dragon, is ready to fly, and she's flying around on it. All she needs now is a chainmail bikini, and she's all set. So the next good aspect of Season 5 was, of course, Jon Snow and the whole White Walker / Wildling storyline. So it starts off with Stannis at the wall, and Jon is entertaining, his army and all that stuff. And we have the whole Mance Rayder thing, and Jon killing Mance Rayder out of mercy and all that stuff, which was okay. And then we got the scene that I was looking forward to for so long, Janos Slynt, he's just like, basically gives Jon the finger. Jon just goes, okay, take him out, bring me my sword. And we got to see Janos Slynt whine like a little bitch, and I was kind of hoping that Stannis would give him the thumbs up, but he never does. He just doesn't even really nod. He just looks on, says, just walks away, not protesting anything. He's just like, yep. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And pretty much everything else in the whole Jon Snow storyline was fairly uneventful. Nothing to really talk about. And then Hardhome happens. So to call that an epic battle would probably not be doing it quite as much justice as it deserves. I mean, book readers didn't see that coming. It hasn't happened in the books yet, of course. And, show watchers didn't see it coming. So everybody was just in total awe. And this is the first time we really get to see what kind of a threat the White Walkers really are. And, as scary as it is, I mean, it was just so awesome. So, as we know Obsidian Dragonglass can kill them, but we get to find out that Valyrian Steel can kill them too. Not only can it kill them, but their weapons cannot destroy them, but they can destroy normal steel weapons. Now, some people have said that the scene with Daenerys, getting on her dragon and flying away was kind of cheesy because she looked immaculate during that whole thing, even after getting, yelled at by the dragon on the hot breath and running around and, not having any dust on her and all that stuff. And, that happens in movies and TV shows all the time. I mean, female characters, they get thrown into pools and come out of them with their hair slicked back perfectly and their makeup just completely perfect. That happens all the time. But in the middle of this scary, intense, epic fight, with a White Walker coming out and, Jon Snow battling for his life, we get this. Uh-oh. Gort! I mean, that face that the White Walker gives is just, it is priceless, but it's just so out of place. I mean, you've got zombies and menacing figures come up and, just like, and then he swings his spear and just like, oh no, let me put this up for you again so you can see it. I mean, look at that. I mean, does that follow the tone of this whole scene? I mean, it made it, for just a split second there, this scene was made into a slapstick routine. But then the mood quickly changes back to very dark and gruesome at the very end. The Night's King. We see him step out, stare at Jon Snow, and Jon and the Night's King, they have this staring match until finally this happens. Rise from your grave. And then everybody who died gets up with the blue eyes. They're all whites now. And everybody's jaws dropped, and it just seems so hopeless at this point, and everybody's just like, oh my god, how are they going to win this? But if this battle does prove one thing, if it does have a silver lining to the cloud, it does prove that White Walkers are pretty easy to kill if you have the right tools. And I think 3 dragons would definitely be the right tool. So the last good part of this season was the whole King's Landing situation, namely that centered around Cersei. Now, those of you who've watched my videos before, here we go. You're thinking probably, oh, here he goes again, picking on Cersei. And I guess some of you like it when I pick on Cersei, maybe some of you don't. But I have to say, you know what? Show Cersei is even dumber than book Cersei. I mean, Book Cersei, I mean, yes, she did, reinstall the Faith Militant, but she only did that because she thought it was a clever bargain, you know, because, she got Tommen the blessing from the High Sparrow, and she erased a lot of the debt that she erased all the debt that the crown owed to just, the Septon. But I mean, here she actually gets rid of all of her people on purpose, and then she purposely allies herself with this guy, who she thinks is a man of the people, and she thinks he's going to be on his side. And of course, it ends up backfiring on him. And you know what? I mean, in the books, the Faith Militant, I mean, they actually had weapons, they had armor, they're well equipped people. But this Faith Militant on the show, I mean, they're just a bunch of guys with robes and sticks. I mean, they could just so easily be beaten in a war. I mean, and it's just like, and I guess they wanted to show the weakness of Tommen. And you know what? I have to say this. Tywin dying is probably the worst possible thing that could have happened to Tommen. Because if you think about it, I mean, Tommen probably could have made a pretty good king under Tywin's guidance. I mean, yes, I know. Tywin, he's a tyrant. He's merciless, and, he kills a lot of people, and he does a lot of things that are pretty abhorrent just because he thinks, that's the only way his family can survive. But, I mean, I think he honestly did have good intentions towards Tommen. I think he actually did want, Tommen to be a good king because, he knows that Joffrey wasn't, and Tywin knows he's not going to live forever. So I think he really did want to train Tommen to be a good king, and he taught him the value of wisdom and all that. And I think if Tywin had still been alive, well, I mean, of course, if Tywin had still been alive, none of that would have happened because he never would have let Cersei do what she did. But he dies, and then Cersei pretty much, nails the coffin shut for the Lannisters. So the Maggie the Frog scene at the very beginning of the season was interesting. Yeah, and so we learn about I think that's the first time we really saw prophecy explained on the show. I mean, the show never really does get into, it sort of gets into Azor Ahai a little bit, with Melisandre and Stannis, and, this show got a little bit into, Rhaegar kidnapping Leon and all that stuff, but other than that, we really haven't had any, explanations for the show viewers about what prophecies are, in that world. But, now we see, now we get to actually see a prophecy as it's happening in the Maggie the Frog flashback. And yes, I was taken aback by Maggie the Frog herself. I was, she shows up, she's lying down, and then, she reveals her face, and, just like, wow, she's kind of attractive. Yeah, she's a bit disheveled, and she looks a bit crazed, but, that woman is like one shower away from a hot date. I guess everybody was expecting basically the female equivalent of the bridge keeper from Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
For your fortune, you may ask me your questions 3. Ergo, you get the prophecy.
So now we come to the bed. Yes, and I guess if I have to talk about the bed, I think I have to talk about the whole situation in Dorne. Yep, just very, very, very poorly done. They just botched that up completely. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room first. No Ariana Martell. Yeah, I was very disappointed when I realized she wasn't going to be in it, and they sort of switched all the emphasis over to the Sand Snakes, and the Sand Snakes, they are interesting characters, but at the end of the day, they're just thugs. They're just the muscle. There's no real depth to them, I don't think. Ariana Martell, she's the mastermind. She's the one who tries to be like her father. She's the one who tries to hatch plots, and she's not good at it. And so Dorne, he locks her in a tower and sits her down, and he tells her, look, here's how we have to do things. Don't think that I'm just letting this stuff slide. I do have a plan here. But I guess HBO just wanted to show the Sand Snakes more because they wanted to show more women kicking butt and all that stuff. And anyway, that's my theory about that. But anyway, I mean, barely anything happened. I mean, it was basically just Jaime and Bronn. They go to Dorne, they sneak in, and they kill a few guys, and then they try to rescue Marcella. She falls on her butt a few times. The sand snakes show up and try to kill Marcella, and then everybody's captured. They chill out in the black cells for a while, and we see Tyane's tits, which is pretty much the highlight of that whole sequence. I mean, pretty much just could have shown me that and left everything else from Dorne out. Wouldn't have cared. And they pretty much made Prince Doran look like a complete waste of space. I mean, all he did was sit around and say, "No, we're not going to kill you," and "No, you're not going to do that." No, 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 no. And it looks like he's trying to make peace, and maybe in the end he did kind of give Ilaria the thought to poison Marcella and all that stuff. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Marcella gets poisoned just when she has a tender moment. It's kind of like the rule on Game of Thrones. Every time there's a heartwarming moment, it has to end horribly. But it was nice. Jaime got to tell Marcella, I'm your father actually, and she's cool with it. She's cool with the fact that her mother and her twin brother got it on and had her. She's a product of incest. She's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And I think what happened was, I think the Martells kind of told her about that beforehand, and let it sink in, and then Marcella sees Jaime come and try to rescue her and be a father to her. But anyway, so that's two of Cersei's children that have died from poison. So does that mean Tommen is going to die from poison? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe on the show he'll die that way. Maybe in the books he'll die a different way. But yeah, Tommen's not long for this world. We know that. But I mean, Dorne was just not good. And then we come to Stannis' storyline. I mean, it started out okay while he was at the wall, but for the most part, it was just the same old stuff. It's just like Melisandre, whispering bad things in his ear, Davos whispering good things in his ear, trying to be the voice of reason, until finally Stannis sends Davos back to the wall just to get him out of the way so that this can happen. Now, Stannis has never been my favorite. I've never really been gung-ho about it, as a lot of people are. And I never understood, why there was a lot of people that thought, Stannis, he's Stannis the Menace, and he should be the king and all that stuff. And, I do get some of it. I mean, yes, he is the rightful king by law, but he's definitely not somebody that you want on the Iron Throne. I mean, he would probably end up being almost as bad as the Mad King, if not just as bad. But I never really despised the guy until the whole Shireen burning incident. I mean, as I watched that scene and they're actually walking with her, they're walking her down the aisle, if you will, so that she could go to her, funeral pyre, get burned at the stake. I was just saying, no, they are not going to do this. They are not going to do this. And then, Melisandre's there. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to do this. And we find out that this actually will happen in the books. And we're just going, oh my God. I mean, this is just, Stannis, I can't believe you. I mean, and I tell you, a lot of people are thinking that he survived that whole thing with Brienne, and I'll get to her in a minute. But I really hope he didn't. I just, the whole Baratheon line is dead now. I say good riddance. But, Stannis, I really don't care for that guy at all now. So, yeah, Brienne of Tarth, pretty much, my opinion of her has not changed in the slightest. I mean, she is still the dumbest, biggest buffoon on that whole show. I mean, she spends months staring at a tower, and then, she leaves just before, she actually needs to be looking at. And, she accidentally stumbles across Sansa, and she swears her fealty to Sansa right there, and then Sansa's life pretty much goes right back downhill after that. And speaking of Sansa, I guess it's time to get into the ugly. So yes, the Sansa storyline, I was looking forward to this. I was looking forward to seeing her character take some leaps forward, become a more skilled, intelligent player in the whole game, but she's still just a pawn, and she's getting it worse than she's ever gotten it. And yes, the rape scene. Yes, I mean, those of you who follow me know I made a video about this, and I'll leave a link to that below, so I won't get into it too much here. But I've had some time to calm myself down after the outrage of just. And I'm not above, and I'm not against raping women in stories. I mean, I'm against rape in general in real life, yes, but as far as raping and women in stories goes, there are times I do think it's appropriate if it actually helps the story move forward and all that stuff. But I mean, I was thinking about, remember, in my previous video I said, well, they might have done it for shock value. If so, that wasn't necessary. They might have done it to get more people, favoring Sansa. They want more people to like Sansa, so they're going to make people feel sorry for her. And then they're going to cheer for her as she and Theon go around and probably stumble across Brienne and Podrick. But anyway, yeah, but I definitely do not think Sansa needed to go through this in this show. And yes, I get it. They couldn't just bring in another character so that, they couldn't actually bring in a Jane Poole character so that she could go through what Sansa went through in the show, and had Jane Poole be fake Arya and, escape up to the wall, and which apparently led to the Pink Letter. The Pink Letter wasn't in this show, but I mean, no, I've been emotionally invested in Sansa for a long time. I liked her before it was cool. No, but seriously, I mean, I really did feel for Sansa since day one, ever since she saw her father get her head chopped off, and she's had to cope and, survive as best she could in this completely hostile environment that she wasn't prepared for. And now they just basically they just build her up a little bit so they can put her into an even more intense meat grinder. So yeah, the whole Sansa thing I was not happy about. Okay, so now let's talk about what everybody's talking about. This isn't so much an ugly part, but it is a controversial part. So the Jon Snow stabbing. As the show watchers may or may not know, that did happen in the books. That is where the book readers were left off. And, we're wondering, is Jon alive? I mean, and yes, there's several theories going around about how he could have survived. One theory is he warged into Ghost, and, his spirit's going to stay there. Another theory is he's going to become a White Walker. Another theory is that Melisandre will bring him back, and I think if Jon does come back, that is how he's going to do it. Because Melisandre, I think it'll sort of be a combination of the Melisandre and the Ghost theory. Melisandre and the Ghost. But the theory goes is that, Jon wargs his soul into Ghost, and then Melisandre manages to bring Jon back, and then Jon's spirit goes from Ghost and back into his own body, and that's how he gets resurrected. Now, I do think that this is the most sound theory because in the books, Melisandre is still at the wall. She never left. And also on the show, Melisandre goes back to the wall. Now, they sent her back to the wall for a reason. And, I mean, they could have made her disappear. They could have just made her ride south or just, hop on a boat back to Essos. But they had her go back to the wall, and they showed her going back to the wall and arriving there for a reason. So, yeah. So if Jon is resurrected, I do think that Melisandre will be a big part of that. So at this point, there's a lot of speculation on whether or not Jon Snow will ever appear on the show again. Apparently, Kit Harington has made a statement saying, "I'm not coming back." And apparently David Nutter, one of the directors of the shows, he has said that as far as the show is concerned, Jon Snow is dead. That's it. He's not coming back. End of story. So, so that's got a lot of people thinking. I mean, well, not so much. I mean, a lot of people are just saying, oh no, still theorizing on how he's going to come back. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people a lot of people that are actually affiliated with the show that are major parts of it saying, "Nope, that's it. He's dead. He's gone. That's it. End of story." As far as the show is gone, he did say, as far as the show is concerned, he's not coming back. So I guess that means in the book he still has a role to play. But anyway, what does this actually mean if Jon Snow is not actually is dead on the show? Well, first of all, I mean, I gotta ask, does it mean I was right? R plus L equals D and not J? Well, it might. I mean, it does seem like it would be pretty anticlimactic if they found out, well, who was that child? It was Jon Snow. Oh, wait a minute, but he's dead. Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter now. So it'd have to be Rhaegar and Lyanna is Dany's parents. But anyway, so I mean, exactly, if he is dead and if he is gone, but it's not going to be that way in the books, why exactly would they do that? Now, there's a few possibilities here. One is that they just flat out lied to us. I mean, one is, I doubt they would do that, though. I doubt they would just flat out lie and just, he's going to be showing up in season 6 just as much as he was in all the previous seasons. I don't think they would do that. I mean, I guess technically they could if they wanted to, but I don't know. That's not a good idea to flat out lie to the public, bold-faced lie like that. The other possibility is that he just won't be in season 6. So he might just pull a Bran and just take one season off, and then maybe like the very last episode, he gets resurrected for the season or something like that. But I mean, it's like, again, Kit Harington, these people are saying he's done for. Now, another possibility is that in the books, the character of Jon Snow just takes a turn that, you know, they just did not want to do on the show. And that seems like a far stretch, but it is possible. But then you got to think, well, what could possibly be happening in the books that they don't want to go on the show? I mean, they were willing to do the Red Wedding. They were willing to rape Sansa. They were willing to chop Eddard's head off in the first season. But, I mean, so what exactly could it be that's going to happen to Jon that they wouldn't want to show on the show? Well, I mean, obviously it would have to be, you know, Jon Snow, everybody's most beloved, would turn out to be a bad guy. He might be turned into a White Walker, which I guess maybe they think people just couldn't handle that, but George R. R. Martin could. George R. R. Martin has the basic philosophy of, you know, art is not a democracy. It's my story. It's going to happen the way I decide to. It's going to happen on my terms. Whereas people who create TV shows, they tend to be a little bit more down to earth. They tend to be a little bit more, well, let's just give them, the people what they want, or at least what we think they want. So yeah, but this whole Jon Snow thing, I mean, it is interesting to see how it's going to play out. And, you know, I'm not completely convinced that he's off the show either, even though I have read things that say that he is. So overall, I would say the 5th season of Game of Thrones was fairly weak with a really strong ending. I mean, like I said, I mean, it didn't get really good until the last 3 episodes. And up until then, it was pretty stagnant and pretty kind of weird, and, well, not so much weird, but just kind of long and drawn out and boring. And yeah, I know they can't be book purists and get this thing done, but I'm not talking from a book purist standpoint. It's just clearly, I mean, just strictly as a fan of the show, I think the first part of the season started out pretty weak. But then just really it's like they were just saving everything for the last 3 episodes. I mean, it just seems to me like they said, well, you know, let's just make the last 3 episodes just friggin' huge and epic, and just leave it on, you know, these huge cliffhangers, and then just have stories come around and all that stuff. And then somebody said, what are you going to do for the other 7 episodes? Show Dorne? So let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, my pertinent contact information down below in the abyss. Please comment, rate, subscribe. You know the drill. And until next time, this is Isaiah Sanderson telling everybody, make your lives grand and have a good day. Thank you very much.
Come along now, Drogon. We have to go back to Marine. Bitch, leave me alone.
Please, Drogon.
Oh, now you touch my nose.